Just go whenever you're ready. I'm going to go 8 to 11. Don't forget to stream it. Welcome to Picks and Parlays on this lovely Monday, January 6th, 2020. Today, you may not know it, it is Epiphany. It is what's known as the Three Wise Men Day. But don't worry, folks, here at Picks and Parlays, we have our very own Three Wise Men for you today. We're going to bring up Craig Trapp, Sean Higgy Pop Higgs, and Tony Comandante El Tigre Tellez. We're going to talk some NFL opening lines. We're going to talk the National Championship opening lines as well. And the Lending Tree Bowl. I believe that's the Alabama Bowl or the Lending, who knows. Anyway, so college basketball, NBA Monday also with our good friend Tony Tellez. We're going to talk Thunder at Sixers, Bucks at Spurs, Bulls at Mavs, Pacers at Hornets, and Jazz. Somewhere. We'll figure it out. All right, find us on the web. We are at picksandparlays.net. We're also streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Would love to hear from you during the show. All you have to do is fill out that comment box and we will find you. And we will do our very best to bring your comment into the show. Look, we're going to give out lots of free picks on this show, so stay tuned. But don't worry, we have more picks than just that. All of our expert handicappers, and we have 35 of them, you can get their expert analysis on the site right now, picksandparlays.net. Don't be bashful. Go get those expert picks and make your sports betting dream a reality. It's just that simple. All right, so we've got some big games today. By the way, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Nick Geber, Nickgeber. That's my Twitter handle. Love to hear from you. And if you want to participate in the show, you can find us at hashtag Parlay Radio or just search Picks and Parlays, and we will find you and put your comment up on the screen, never fear. Hope you've had a great holiday season. It is now over. Back to the grind. Nose to the grindstone. Grindstones. Same thing. Back to the work week. And of course, we've got all these wonderful games. NFL wildcard are over. Those games are done. We're going to tell you what all the opening lines are when we come back on Picks and Parlays with Craig El Guapo Trapp. Stay with us. Welcome back, Picks and Parlays. I'm your host, Nick Geber. Great to be with you. Twitter me, at Nick Geber. Love to hear from you. By the way, we are live with you on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network each and every weekday from 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. That would be each and every workday, I suppose. If you miss any of the show, you can find the podcast live at the Believe Podcast Network and replays of the show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But never mind that. Let's get right to it. I promised you three wise men. Let me bring you the first one. This, Craig El Guapo Trapp, our fearless leader. Craig, great to be with you. NFL opening lines are set. The wildcard games are behind us. And I might add a couple of upsets, right, Craig?
Yeah, not only a couple upsets. If you're a sports bettor, 3 of the 4 underdogs won. And depending on where you got it at, you either pushed or you won on the Houston Texans if you took them at -2.5. But all 4 unders cashed too. So unders and underdogs did really well opening week. Maybe that means this week you play the favorites and the overs. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start, shall we, with the Saturday games. Vikings at 49ers. Now, this opened with San Francisco as 6.5-point favorites. Of course, the Vikings coming off that victory in the wild card game. Total 45.5. What do you expect that to happen with that, Craig? Is that going to move?
Well, I mean, I see some 7s out there as well. So there were some opening lines, I think, at 7, but think the more consensus line is the 49ers at 6.5. Pretty interesting since Minnesota, of course, had a nice overtime win against a very, very good Saints team. Now they have to play with 1 day less rest against a rested 49ers bunch. So I think this line is right about where it should be, either 6.5 or 7. Obviously, if you like the underdog, you want to wait and try to get that 7. If you like the favorite, you want to jump on it now at the 6.5. And, we'll see if San Francisco can first playoff win since, of course, Jim Harbaugh left to go to Michigan.
Interestingly enough, Craig, I mean, we talk about this game, but, there has to be a lot of momentum now, emotional momentum with the Vikings. It's either going to go one or two ways. They're either going to be riding a high into this game and believe they can beat anybody, or they're going to sort of have achieved their emotional crescendo and come into this game and meet the brick wall of reality. I think one of these two things are going to happen, Craig.
Well, Kirk Cousins, the knock on him is he couldn't win the big game. He hasn't been able to win on Monday night, all those chances, all that is knocks. Well, he had a really good game against one of the toughest places to win, of course, in the Superdome in New Orleans. So I think Minnesota will be ready to play. I don't think the short week will matter. I just think this Minnesota team is playing really well. Their ability to run the ball is really what is going to set when Dalvin Cook runs the ball, this Minnesota team is a different team. I think they'll be able to run the ball against the 49ers. I think this is going to be a much closer than the line suggests.
I do too. All right, next up, let's go. The Titans. Well done, boys. You beat the Patriots. Now it's over, though, because at the Ravens, 9.5-point favorites for Baltimore with a total of 48. Look, I thought the Titans played fantastic, but in some respects, we can talk about the Patriots another time, I guess. But this seems a hair low to me. Maybe I'm not giving the Titans the respect that they need. What do you think, Trapp?
Yeah. Well, Baltimore, actually, I see some lines out there at 10, so I think you're right on. I think the bettors have talked, and this line now is at 10. Both the AFC lines are at 10. They moved from 9.5 to 10 already. I think Baltimore, with the week off, with that great running game at home, I think it's going to be a tall task for Tennessee defense. But this Tennessee defense is very good, and they can run the ball as well. Henry was really good against a very good Patriots team. So I think it's all going to be who can run the ball and control that clock. And both teams, that's really their goals.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's good stuff. I mean, these wildcard games were very, and by the way, allow me to add, some very exciting games as well. Okay, maybe the Seahawks game wasn't exactly a seat over your pants game, but 3 of the 4 I thought were really cracking games, loads of entertainment, and kind of kept you wondering right to almost till the last second of the game, or in some cases, what was it? Delay of game penalties 2 times over to knock 15 seconds off the clock. Great stuff, love it. Well done, Titans. But game over, I'm afraid. All right, Texans at Chiefs. Texans with that, was that some of the worst play calling you've ever seen in the NFL or with the Buffalo Bills, Craig?
Well, I mean, the Bills, their knock on them all year was Allen he would make some unbelievable plays, but there was a lot of in between there where they had to survive with their running game and that great defense. It finally caught up to them. Texans, though, really, I mean, pulled that one out by the seat of their pants. It was a thrilling win, but a big task here. And like we said, this Chiefs line opened at 9.5. Now it's at 10 for good reason. Kansas City in a rested spot. Arrowhead, one of the tougher places to play, with a total of 49 here. I think it's a big task for Houston to win here. Cover maybe is obviously much a bigger chance when you're getting double digits.
Hey, Craig, I have to ask you, I mean, the Chiefs really the kind of dark horse potentially to take the whole thing? I mean, because they're not as sexy as the Ravens. They're not getting it done with as much fanfare, but there's something awfully efficient about this team.
Well, last year, their offense for Kansas City got all the praise. Now, this year, it's about Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. But guess what? The Chiefs' defense is much, much improved this year. They really were good down the stretch. Now, granted, they played some of maybe weaker competition. So you have to, look at who they played. But still, I like the improved defense. I do think it gets them through this week as far as straight up. I don't know about the spread. We'll talk about this one probably later in the week on our rapid fire picks. But I think if I was on this one, I would be playing the under 49 here. I just think this Kansas City defense is improved. I think the Texans defense, they know they can't get into a shootout here. If they get into a shootout, they're going to lose on the road here.
All right. Okay, let's move on. Next one. We've got Seattle Seahawks at the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay, 4-point favorites. It's not an awful lot. I have to say, I quite like the Seahawks. I think this team maybe is better than they get credit for. Where do you see this line going, Craig? And I see a total of 46. I mean, Seahawks coming off that kind of low-scoring wild card game. How do you see this one?
Yeah. Well, with this one being the last game, of course, on Sunday night, you haven't seen a whole lot of line movement yet. This line just came out before we went on air here. But I do think this line will move a little bit. But, to me, it's not going to get to any of the key numbers. It's not going to get to 6 or 7. It's probably not going to get to down to 3. So I don't think it really matters. You don't no hurry if you like one side or the other in this one. Seattle's run game was better than I thought. I thought Marshawn Lynch played really well. Only his second game back, of course. And, with so many injuries, I thought Seattle might struggle. I did like him on the road, but I was a little nervous because of the, going with a running back that hasn't had a lot of carries this year, but it hasn't mattered. His experience, Marshawn Lynch, was fine. I think Seattle will play really close here, but winning the weather here, I think, could be a big factor. We know how cold it can be at Lambeau Field this time of year, so I would wait till closer later in the week before I play this one.
All right. Okay, finally, the national championship game. It's LSU against Clemson. Clemson, of course, trying to do the double, the little repeat action here. However, LSU, 5.5-point favorites, Craig, is not nearly as big as I would have thought, because when I look at these teams, I do see quite a gap between them. However, 69.5 points. The line opened at -5, so I guess it's widened a little bit, and so's the point spread. But do you expect to see more of that?
To be honest, this line's been out for, a week now. I thought this line was going to be much higher. I thought LSU, I did see some 6s. It all jumped all the way up to 6 a few times. I didn't see it much higher than that, though. But I expect LSU will get some late steam here because they were so impressive against Oklahoma. And then, also Clemson struggled against Ohio State. They really probably should not have won that game, shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of thing. But still, they didn't. They weren't nearly as impressive. I do think the total has gone up near 2 points already. So if you do like the over, I suggest you get on this one because I can see it getting to 70 easily. I even see a 70 out there right now, but 69.5 on late Sunday night as we tape this.
All right, Craig Trapp, very quickly, about 10 or 15 seconds. We have any specials up on the site today, picksandparlays.net?
Yeah, first week of, full week, we've got the yearly passes up. All handicappers, $999. That's about $400 off the regular price. So $999 on yearly passes.
All right, Craig Trapp, always a pleasure. And, of course, you can find Craig at picksandparlays.net. Coming up, Higgy Pop. That's right, new name for the new year. Sean Higgs joins me. We're talking a little bit of everything right after the break. Welcome back, Picks and Parlays, live on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, also streaming live throughout the day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm your host, Nick Geber. Thanks for joining us. By the way, every day we put out a ton of free picks on this show. That's Monday through Friday. If you can't get enough free picks, this is the show for you. Join us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Hashtag Parlay Radio if you have trouble finding us. And now let's just get to it, shall we? Let's have a few more free picks. And who else to have them picked by than our second of our three wise men? This, was it Epiphany Day? Three Wise Men Day? Anyway, number 2. Let's bring him. Higgy Pop, Sean Higgs. Sean, how was the cheesecake over the holidays? Do we have Sean?
Made chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, we just
No
missed
cheesecake.
No cheesecake. Oh my goodness. That, my friend, is grounds for divorce. When is the divorce coming through?
Well, if I don't lose like 40 pounds, it's going to be after this crazy beard grows in. That's my goal. I got to lose 39 more pounds, and I'm shaving again.
Wear black.
Too much cheesecake.
No, wear black, grow a bigger beard. Okay? All right. Let's get to it. Higgy. We've got 3 games to talk about. We're going to do an NBA, we're going to do a college basketball, and we're going to throw it over and do one of the 2 remaining bowl games left. Of course, the national championship being the big one. Oh, let's start, shall we?
Potpourri of action today.
Yeah, potpourri of action, indeed. A veritable smorgasbord of sports betting. What are we going to do today? Give me an NBA game.
Let's look at Nets Magic.
Well, let's do that,
Nets
shall we?
Magic.
And let's bring in the Brooklyn Nets. 16-18 against the spread on a 5-game losing streak. That's a bit of a cooler, isn't it? Falling to Toronto 102-121. They're 7-11 straight up and against the spread away from home. They're 6-4 heads up with the Magic over the last 10. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving still out with no return date. Total's gone over in 5 of the last 7. And for the Magic, they've also got some injuries, by the way. Aminu, Carter Williams, Isaac's all out. Total's gone under in 6 of the last 7. And we have Magic, 4-point home favorites, and total of 212.5. Seems a little, I don't know, that's almost a pick 'em, isn't it? This was 2 baskets, I guess, yeah.
212.5 now. I saw 210 earlier, 210.5, now it's up to 212. Interesting.
Well,
interesting.
See, I aim to interest you, Higgy Pop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good for me because, you know what? I like the under here. Now, we got both teams coming off their losses on Saturday. And granted, we got guys out here, which is why I kind of like the under. Also, I mean, you look at this Magic team, you got 2 guys averaging more than 14 points a game, and those 2 guys don't even average 20 a game. Where does this run come from? I mean, they just do. There's no urgency to move the ball. They can't shoot well. The Nets are coming off a game where they got outshot 97-67. Terrible. So I kind of like the Nets here to bounce back. And I actually saw a 5 or so pop up around here. Maybe the line's coming down. Who knows if you got it at 4 or so. Maybe the money's moving towards the Nets. I like the Nets not only to cover this number, I like them outright. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. So 212. Again, it's gotten up 2 since I saw the number earlier. But I'm still going to go under. 212.5. Let's go under and take the Nets, and we'll sprinkle some money line on these guys also.
So you're taking Nets to win money line, right?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
listen,
okay.
I'll
by
take
the way,
some points here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you, okay? When I looked at this, I thought, they got similar records, yeah, kind of, but, there's something about the Magic's lost 4 out of the last 6. They got beaten by the Jazz 96-109. I just look at this and just something about the Nets. I think this team's ready to get that away win.
Well, not only that, I just think the Nets, just as a franchise, they brought in the guy from San Antonio to take over the front office. So I think there's a lot of changes taking place there. You saw last year with them, scrappy team, got to the playoffs or was right there. They're just tough. They got a bunch of gritty guys. Not that they should or should not sign Kyrie or KD. The KD's worth a flyer, absolutely. Kyrie really, he got the championship with LeBron out there, but he's really been a bad teammate, like a tumor almost to team. So I think actually when he's out, I think the guys around him, because it's like the Celtics. You got a bunch of like role player type guys, hungry guys, trying to make a name for themselves. So they play better without the superstar. And that's what I'm looking for here. I think, listen, I like the Magic. I had the Magic last year when they were in the playoffs against Toronto. Again, though, defensively, always tough defensively, poor shooting team. And I think the Nets are just a little more grittier. That's why I'm going to take them on the money line here.
Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, Nets on the money line. And the under, I think, is what we're talking about on this one.
Yeah.
All right, next up, let's talk a little college basketball, shall we? West Virginia, Oklahoma State. This is a Big 12 matchup. We got the Mountaineers 11-2, 7-6 against the spread. 53-60 loss to the Kansas Jayhawks, snapped a 4-game winning streak. It also kicked off conference play with a loss, which wasn't good for the Mountaineers. They're 2-2 straight up and against the spread away from home. Total's gone under in all of their last 6. Although, again, those are the last 6. They've only really had one conference game out of that. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, 9-4, 6-7 against the spread. They're 2-6 in the last 8, losing to Texas Tech, 50-85. Also losing their first conference game. Total's gone over in the last 5 against West Virginia. Virginia is just a 1-basket favorite, -2, although on the road, the total of 137.
Yeah, and you know what? Listen, West Virginia, nice year, 11-2. Granted, you're coming off a loss to Kansas, but let's be honest, them, Michigan State, probably Duke, you're kind of separating themselves as the top probably 3 teams. So you throw Gonzaga into that mix, top 4 teams in the country. So I'm not worried about a tough loss there. A game they actually covered. Again, last year, 4-14 with Huggy Bear, West Virginia in Big 12 play. Looking to improve on that. I think they're a lot better than that. And here we go. They've already beaten Ohio State. I look at this Oklahoma State team. What have you done? You lost by 30 or 30, 35, 85 to 50. They lose. Yeah. They lost to Minnesota, Wichita State, Georgetown. Their best wins against Syracuse, who's a middling type squad. So I kind of, early in the year, kind of look into the trends when it comes to conference play. I know people aren't high on that, but teams that see each other 2 and with tournaments 3 times a year, you get a little bit of, I know what you're going to do kind of next. Revenge. Last year, Okie State 285-77, identical wins over West Virginia. So I don't know. I think the line tells you West Virginia favored on the road here. Even a short number, that's where I'm leaning. West Virginia, payback for the double revenge. Again,
I just think it's a really
shame
small
in losing
number.
to K-State.
It
is a small number, but that's, I think, kind of based on the record. You see 11-2.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's kind of like basically.
But look, Big 12 is such a tough conference. Come on, Higgs.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, you got Kansas is always good. Texas Tech's not a bad team.
Yeah.
Baylor always throws out a solid team. K-State's a tough team.
If I'm not mistaken,
solid teams.
Baylor right now is close to unbeaten also.
Yeah, but again, you got to take January records with a grain of salt. You get some of these teams are making their first trips out of their own state now. They sit home and bring in all the pay games to boost these records. I remember like St. John's one year was like 18-0 coming into Big East play. I'm like, oh, these guys are great. And they win like 2 games because, all right, you're playing bad teams to bad records. But I don't know. Give me West Virginia here. It's basically a pick 'em, double revenge spot. I'm not high on Okie State. Give me Huggy Bear to get it done here. He's going to want some payback.
All right, let's give it to Antonio Fargas then. Huggy Bear, of course, the actor that played Huggy Bear in the original Starsky and Hutch. All right, Louisiana Lafayette versus Miami of Ohio for the very, very well-known Lending Tree Bowl. The Raging Cajuns, 10-3, 9-4 against the spread. Wake up, Higgy. The team is all about offense.
Come on, we got Sunbelt and MAC action.
Yeah, I know. They're 8th in the NCAA. Quarterback Levi Lewis, 24 TDs, only 4 interceptions. They actually lost twice to the same opponent, by the way. That was Appalachian State. So it really should only count as 1 loss, but twice. 2-1 straight up, 3-0 against the spread at neutral sites. Total's gone over in 6 of the last 8. And look, Miami of Ohio, the Red Hawks, they're just bad. This team, they're 8-5. This team specializes in defense. Their quarterback is a rookie, Brett Gabbert, threw for only 11 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Just not great. Under is 5-1 of the last 6, and that's why 14-point favorites are our Raging Cajuns with a total of 55.5. Let's go.
Yeah, you mentioned he goes 11-8 TD ratio to interceptions, and he's the MAC Freshman Player of the Year. Yeah. That's all you need to know about the MAC. You're wondering why I'm yawning. We got Sunbelt and MAC action here. This is the second to last college football game we get to bet on. This is what we get, a 14-point conference underdog. Listen, UL, should they roll over these guys by 20? Probably. You mentioned the quarterback, 24-4 touchdowns, interceptions, 3 running backs over with basically 800 yards apiece rushing, close to 6 yards a carry. they're pretty tough. 9-4 against the number on the year. The negatives for Miami, Ohio, 8-5, out-yarded on the year by 75 yards a game, outscored by 3.5 points a game. The freshman quarterback in a bowl game versus basically a Hall of Famer on the other side, putting up the numbers compared to what he did. But you know what? I kind of like the dog here. It's a MAC team, no respect. I mean, the numbers are the numbers, but you still won your conference, and you're getting 14 from another smaller mid-major. I like Sunbelt teams. I like them as dogs. I don't like them laying double digits. So I'm going to actually lean here on the ugly MAC team. I don't mind ugly. I mean, look at the facial hair. I'm ugly every day, so I get it. I'll get 14 points, and I'm going to actually look at the over because I think we're going to see we'll see some trickery. We know Miami, Ohio's got to pull some stuff out of their butts to put some points on the board. So let's go doggy and over to 54.5.
Okay, woof, woof, and over. We got it. All right. Higgy Pop. Sean Higgs, always a pleasure. You can find Sean on the website, picksandparlays.net. We got to run along. Coming up next, NBA Monday with Tony Tellez. See you, Sean.
Take it easy.
Welcome back to Picks and Parlays, live on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network. Also, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We're with you each and every weekday from 4 p.m. Eastern Time. One day I will get that right. I'm old, and I haven't taken my ginkgo biloba. So my memory retention, what did I just say? I forget. Anyway, all right, well, look, we promised you 3 wise men. We've had 2 of the 3. Let's bring in the next one. Some say the wisest of them all. Comandante El Tigre, Tony Tellez. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, Nick, great to be here. You mean you don't put any, you might want to try putting some blueberries in your oatmeal in the morning. That'll help your memory a little bit.
Yeah, I could. But what did you just say? Okay, never mind. All right, well, look. We promised some NBA action. Now, I know you and I had prepared a number of games for today because, of course, we put a lot of work into this show. I know it doesn't seem like it when you watch me, but we really do. But we had a bunch of them come up without lines. So we've shifted and moved. We've given you some different games. But let's start with some of the ones that we know for sure we have. Let's start with Thunder at Sixers. Oklahoma 20-15. 23-12 against the spread. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now, capped off with a 121-106 win over the Cavs. They're 8-9 straight up, 12-15 against the spread away. Now, Nerlens Noel, is a doubt. They're 9-1 straight up against the Sixers, which is a fascinating number, actually, because the Sixers, not too shabby of a team this season. We're going to get quite the clash here. Total's gone under in 5 of the last 6, and the Sixers, although they're on a bit of a cooler right now, a 4-game losing streak. In fact, they're only 3-7 since the middle of December. December 15th, my son's birthday, my youngest son, that is, obviously was bad news for the Sixers. They're coming off a 108-111 loss to the Rockets. They are, however, 16-2 and 7-11-1 against the spread at home. Ennis likely out. They've gone over 8 in the last 12. Preamble is over. Sixers 7-point favorites. Total 214. El Tigre. Let's see. How do you like this one? It's a clash of some decent teams.
Yeah, it is a clash of some decent teams, but I'm going to go with current form here. I'm going to go ahead and take the Thunder plus the 6.5. They've played well, winning 9 of their past 10. They got the job done at Cleveland, winning 121-106 on Saturday. But, this Thunder on a good run, they did beat some quality teams like the Raptors, Mavericks, and Clippers. Their defense has been very good. Past 5 games, holding teams to 41% shooting. As you mentioned, the Philadelphia returning home after losing all 4 on their road trip. So first home game off a road trip for the 76ers. And their troubles have just been on the defensive end of the court. In their first meeting they've met already this season, OKC wins at home 127-119, shooting 54%. Thunder have covered 5 straight overall, 12 of 17 on the road. So they've performed well on the road in this underdog role. I'm going to take the points here, Nick. OKC plus 6.5.
OKC plus 6.5. And Tony, I think that's actually a really good pick because I'm with you on form. I'm not sure what's happening to the Sixers. I mean, they went, if I'm not mistaken, I know they're on a 4-game losing streak now, but I mean, that's coming off on the back of, I want to say it was a 4 or 5-game win streak right behind that. I mean, what happened to turn it around so radically?
Yeah, they played some quality teams in there, as you mentioned, with Houston in there. And, it's just, again, it's just the fact that the team does not defend as well on the road. And that is going to be the problem with them. And we'll see what happens in the playoffs. And I don't like these teams. And we've seen this a lot with some of these teams that so-called, quote-unquote, are the favorites, one of the favorites to come out. They get lazy on the road. They don't defend. And they think, well, once the playoffs start, it'll be a different picture. It doesn't always happen. That's why I like the Boston Celtics so much, why the Raptors came out there out of the East, because they were consistently good home and away. They don't have these lapses on defense like the 76ers had. And again, how can the Indiana Pacers without Oladipo, record-wise be on par here with the Philadelphia 76ers? It's beyond, it doesn't make sense to me. And again, it's defense.
And I'm with you, Tony, because you know what makes no sense to me when you look at this team? They're on a 4-game losing streak, okay? They're 3-7 since December the 15th, but you look at their home record, as I mentioned, they're 16-2 at home, and they're 7-11-1 against the spread at home. But you're right, as soon as they leave Philly, those great cheesesteak sandwiches, they just don't know what they're going to do, and they cannot play on the road. This game, however, at home. So, okay, we'll go with it, though. Next up.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Tony.
No, I'm going to go ahead and take the Thunder because I like their form a little better right now.
Yeah.
And they cover on the road. 12 of 17 covers on the road for OKC.
I'm with you. All right, next up, Bucks at Spurs. The Milwaukee Bucks 23-5, 21-16 against the spread. They're also, speaking of winning streaks, I mean, the Bucks, when you've only lost 5 games out of, 37, you're pretty much always on a winning streak at this point. But last win was a 127-118 win over the Spurs. They're 14-3 straight up, 10-7 against the spread away from home. That's the opposite issue with the 76ers right here. They lead the league in scoring, field goal percentage, and rebounds. They're 5-5 heads up, though, in the last 10 versus the Spurs, under in 6 of the last 9. And the Spurs, they're 5-5 coming off that loss to the Bucks, because remember, the last team these guys both played was each other. They're 10-9 straight up, 5-14 against the spread at home. DeJounte Murray, and if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, the Murray family will no doubt send me hate mail, is probably not going to play. And he's not playing, so he's got time to send me hate mail. The total's gone over in 6 of the last 8. The Bucks, 7.5-point favorites against the Spurs on the road, total 229.5. And I have to tell you, I actually think that's low.
I'm with you there, Nick. I'm going to go over the total of 229.5 in this one. These teams just combined for 245 points when they met on Saturday night. And the Spurs, they played to over in 6 of their past 8. And one thing about the San Antonio Spurs, they come off to a bad start, but they have shown improvement shooting the basketball, as in their past 5 games hitting 47%, 40% from 3. They're going to be home, so they shoot better at home, so I like that even better. And the reason why the Spurs sit at 14-20 this season has been, again, their lack of defense. We look over their past 5 games, allowing 46% shooting, but 38% from 3. And, of course, the Bucks, their offense doesn't drop off much on the road, scoring 1 less point. They're averaging 119 points a game, shooting over 48% on the road. Head-to-head, the teams have played to over in 4 straight. I'm with you there, Nick. Let's go over 229.5 with the Bucks and the San Antonio Spurs.
All right, very nice. Next up, let's do a little Indiana at Charlotte Hornets. Tony T, where are we going on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take an underdog, home dog here with Charlotte +5. Charlotte returns home after road wins at Cleveland and then at Dallas. And they shot the basketball well. The Hornets, they do a better job of shooting the basketball on their home court. And from 3, they're hitting 39%, but I should say 37%. But Indiana, they've lost 4 of their past 5. They lose 116-111 to one of the worst teams in the league in Atlanta on Saturday. and it's now 4 straight defeats on the road for the Pacers. In their past 5 games, it's defense. They're allowing 47% shooting. Hornets did defeat the Pacers at home in their first meeting, 122-120, and they had a good shooting performance, did the Hornets. I'm going to take the home dog here, Nick, with Charlotte at +5.
Didn't the Pacers get off to a decent start, if I remember correctly?
Oh, they really did, and they played very well. And of course, they're waiting for Victor Oladipo, and everyone's talking about, once Oladipo comes back, the team will get improved. But they went here on a down spell here, and of course, that probably their lowest point of the season here, losing to Atlanta, and Atlanta is just a bad team. And again, 4 straight on the road they've lost. And Hornets shoot a little better at home. You're getting 5. I think that's a good number to take with Charlotte.
If you lose to Atlanta, you should have to refund your fans at least 2 games worth of tickets to make up for the trauma.
Oh, yes. I mean, Atlanta plays absolutely no defense whatsoever. And again, it's just effort getting to the hoop. That's all it is.
All right. One more game. Let's get to it, shall we? The Jazz. Who are they playing?
They're playing the New Orleans Pelicans.
The Pelicans.
And we have the Pelicans from New Orleans, and we have the Jazz here favored too. And I'm going to go ahead and take them as a road favorite too. I'm really impressed how the Jazz have played. As the team has won 5 straight, 9 of their past 10 after a 109-96 win at Orlando. And they do have a recent road win at the Clippers, crushing them 120-107. The Jazz, they've covered 7 straight, 5 straight on the road, and their form is excellent right now. Past 5 games hitting 50%, 41% from 3, and they're defending, holding teams to 41% shooting. Now, the Pelicans' recent form, they've shown improvement, but their form is not as good on both ends of the court. They are not defending 3-point shot well at 38%, opponents hitting against them. And of course, when you look at overall defensive efficiency ratings, New Orleans a lower 3rd team there defensively. And then you look at Utah, they sit amongst the league's best in defensive efficiency. But Pelicans just 6-11 straight up at home, failing to cover 10 of 17. Jazz have won and covered 4 straight in New Orleans, so there's not too much partying going around there with that Utah team. So I'm going to go ahead and take Utah with a short number, -2.
All right, Utah -2. You got any other games, or is that going to wrap up NBA for us?
I'm kind of looking here at Orlando here, -5 against Brooklyn. I'm kind of butting heads with you guys on this one. I just don't like the Nets' form. They're only shooting 40% over their past 5 games, and Orlando shoots the ball better at home. And again, I don't like that loss to that injury-depleted team that the Nets had losing to Toronto.
Well, I mean, the Magic are 11-8 straight up at home, which is a decent record, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I can see. I mean, look, Higgy went the other way with the Nets with the money line on the money line for the upset.
Yeah, they did, and of course, those other games without lines we talked about here was the Warriors. The Warriors game with Sacramento, just cluster injuries on both sides. Chicago and Mavericks cluster injuries on both sides. Porzingis downgraded doubtful, Hardaway out, and of course Markkanen out here for Chicago. Just too many cluster injuries in both of those games really to look at.
And let me tell you this: what do you get if you take away Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, D'Angelo Russell, and then throw in Kevin Looney? You know what you get? You get a 9-28 record. That's what you get.
On the pod side, you get a nice lottery pick.
Yeah, that's true. You do. Tony, anything else you have on your mind that you want to share with us? We've got about a minute.
Well, all right. Well, I've got over at Picks and Parlays, I have the Lending Tree bowl. Hopefully, you won't need to use Lending Tree. Hopefully, we'll get you some money there, so you won't have to get that payday loan, right? You don't want that, right?
All right. Well, on that one, we have Louisiana Lafayette, 14-point favorites, total 55.5, against a Miami, Ohio team where the quarterback has thrown almost as many interceptions as he has touchdowns. So which way are you going on this one, Tony?
Yeah, I'm going to look in here at over the total because Gabbard has I like Louisiana's offense. Most importantly, I like the weather in Mobile, Alabama. Whenever you see this bowl game, you always got to worry about the weather. But you know what? We're going to be in the mid-50s without wind. I think that favors the offense. And be careful. Get it early because once they see the weather, I think that number is going to go up tomorrow.
Okay, so now's a good time to jump in and pick this one up. 55.5. You're saying take the over on this, and I sometimes, Tony, I mean it's one bowl. It's almost one bowl too many, isn't it?
It is, but you know what? We're bettors here, and we like to get in on the action. If we see an edge, we'll find it. Who is it? Alex Smarty Pants said if it moves, I hit it or something like that. He had a funny line about that.
He did indeed. By the way, Smarty Pants, one of our 35 expert handicappers, not one of the 3 wise men chosen today, but a wise man nevertheless, as you are, Comandante El Tigre. Always a pleasure. Tony Tellez. You can find him at picksandparlays.net, as you can all of our star handicappers. All right, in case you missed any of our free picks, I'm going to do my very best to recap them all right now, right after the break. I'm going to step aside and we'll be right back with more here at picksandparlays.net. Well, hope you enjoyed the show here. Picks and Parlays on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, also streaming live throughout the day at YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. This Monday, January the 6th, the Three Wise Men Day. We did indeed have three wise men. Myself, and myself. Okay, that's not who we had on. We had on Craig Trapp, Tony Tellez, and Sean Higgs, giving you some of the best picks we can find for you, free of charge, just to thank you for listening to this show. But if in case you missed them, don't worry, my friends. We shall recap them for you right now, so let's do it. Craig spoke about opening lines, so you can listen to that segment. There weren't any picks, so to speak, there. But Sean Higgs certainly had some picks. What did Higgy Pop have for us? There we go. Nets at Magic. Take the Nets at +5 and under 210.5. And then in college basketball, we did a little West Virginia at Oklahoma State, that Big 12 matchup. Take West Virginia -2. And finally, the Lending Tree Alabama Bowl. Take Miami, Ohio, +14. And I might add, Tony T just told you to take the over on that one. That's 55.5. I throw that in. And speaking of Tony T, his picks as follows. NBA Monday with Commandante LT Gray. Thunder's at Sixers, take the Thunder +6.5. Bucks at Spurs, take the over the total of 229.5. And Pacers at Hornets, take the Hornets +5. And lastly, Jazz at Pelicans, take the Jazz. Away favorites, 2 points, -2. And you can find them all at picksandparlays.net. And of course, you can find us here live every day, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. And also live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Join in, #Parlay Radio. Until then, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll speak to you tomorrow. And remember, bet, win, repeat.